Yeah, this has been completely awkward, and I knew this would happen, honestly. I knew that we would not be able to, well, I knew that we would not be able to
Hi, how are you?
Now, how about
keep
some
things
music?
stable with using the default network, unfortunately. Or I'll just give it another like 10 to 12-minute test, I guess. Quote unquote test. Because I don't know if we're gonna crash again. Why are the escalators not working? No, I'm going on the wrong one. Where was I going again? Right. Let's see what it's like being in the theater. I used to work at a cinema, so... Why don't we go to the theater to see how their facilities are, how their services are, how their guest services are, how everything is in the maintaining the facility. Because I used to work at one, so... we gotta check that out, at least. Okay, so hopefully we don't crash as I make my way into the movie theater. Fingers crossed. Usually this kind of hour they would play like the final show times. Like going into show times that like end at 1 to 2 to 3 a.m. in the morning.
Then I will escape this darkness.
This is literally all they have, just the trailers playing over and over and the Is that all they have? Is just the trailers playing in the one theater room?
I'm so sorry, child. None of you should pay for this mistake.
I mean, we can already watch this in our
Do what you
not apartment. We can already watch this in our whatchamacallit. Yeah, we can already watch this in our home, in our hotel room.
Sorry for the wait, outlaw.
I will say the in-game viewing experience is pretty nice. Alright, this is
Your one
Lyra's
last
trailer, by the
imprisoned.
way, for anybody who
And
doesn't
why
know.
bother to let us see the
Apparently
outside
she's
world?
like a clone.
Lyra, one day you will understand. You and us, we are the same. Let this song be our farewell gift.
Yeah, it's like having only one big room just only playing movie trailers. How do people like use the restroom though? Cause like some buildings have a restroom in them.
I knew it. She's a real hero.
Yeah, honestly, that cinema could have been a bit more. Even like the cinema that I worked at was a bit more than that. Like the most they have is like an elevator for people who can't walk up the stairs to the second floor. Are most people robots? I think a good amount of them are cyborgs. There's still people who are human, I would say. It's a cyberpunk themed city, so you have a mix of like people who are human, people who could be bestial, cyborgs. It's also a sci-fi universe too, so speaking of a sci-fi universe, sci-fi game that's recently been made free was is Death Stranding, aka Kojima's walking delivery simulator, is now free on Epic Game Store for a limited time. Oh yeah, it's Epic Game Store, so. But it's free, so. Oh yeah, let me find one of these robots I need to speak to. Oh, I could just go to the reception area, that's fine. I see, so I gotta submit like a bunch of these pieces to make it a successful mission. Which can also then grant me a piece of a visor for me to craft. Interesting. Very, very interesting. At least this one looks like it might be my best, one of my better pieces of gear. Huh. Really intriguing. One thing I really will say for sure is that overall, like, you can still play this game and enjoy the aesthetics and everything else for it as a free-to-play, but in terms of, like, mechanical progression and combat progression, you're completely stuck being, subject to being a pay-to-win individual. I haven't spent a cent on this game yet, but I have done, like, a bunch of rolls, and sadly, like, a good amount of those rolls had went to, pity losses than pity wins. Now, I would say it's about, like, like a 4-to-3 ratio, like 4 losses to 3 wins. Is it? Is it like 4 losses to 3 wins? I would say probably at least like 1 more loss than 1 more pity win for limited time supplies. Because when it comes to like the banners here, interesting sound effect. Wait a minute. Okay. That was a little bit different. Anyways, besides the point. When it comes to the banner system, the pity, when you hit, like, there's the chance you can still get the SSR, but it's still a 50-50 no matter what. Even at hard pity, it's still a 50-50. Like, you're guaranteed an SSR pull at exactly number 80 if you didn't get one before then. But still, it's absolutely abysmal because gacha rates will forever be abysmal. And the only way you're guaranteed next is if you keep on pulling to the point you have to manually get it. Which I was almost at a point of doing until the game decided to bless me at, I think 418. Yeah, 418 after my previous hard pity. But that's how gacha gaming is, in general, in all honesty. The rates are never going to be fair. And in all honesty, it's just... they are what they are. They're just never going to be fair, and you can still enjoy the game without having to be mentally distressed by the gacha. So, that's how it be. That's how it be overall. So, what are the... what do I say are my pros and cons of this supposed patch? I think it's an aesthetically pleasing patch, and we also got new characters. We got fun little activities we can do in the city now. The city, I would say probably like this map, one of my most favorite maps in the entire game, is probably the most fleshed out at it's been, which I'm pretty happy for. Because you expected like a cyberpunk, like urban setting, you would have a bunch of stuff to do. So, and there is like a bunch of stuff to do. But it's also like activities that are required to be supplemented by you logging on daily and weekly to do activities and stuff to fuel like a good portion of the side activities you can do in the meantime. There's not really much major story content. We still haven't had a story expansion since the previous patch. I mean, the only thing we could say that's available story-wise is just this little limited time, but this one's a limited time event. This is a limited time event story for Shirley in particular. To get her weapon skin of her original self, which is very sentimental, by the way. And this could also come in handy for anybody who gets like Nemesis in the future. And the Nemesis weapon is going to be on the standard supply at some point in the future for global, since it's already on the permanent supply for Chinese servers anyways. There's also like holiday events going on in the game, but not all of them are unlocked yet. So I don't really have a verdict for that. I would say the float parade is pretty relaxing. You also get to see, hang around with Fenrir, one of the future playable Volt characters. Creature Clash is totally not scaled and really ends up wasting your time if you don't have the most built equipment. Let's see. I think fishing's okay. It's a fine side activity. It also, like, I guess gives you more cosmetic stuff to do. You can have, like, fish in your aquarium. I like the little hotel room that we have. It's pretty... I like how interactable, like, around the bedroom area is. What else? I haven't tried the racing game yet because I couldn't be able to purchase a car at the moment. I keep on splooging my currency on the gachapon machines in Mirror City. But yeah, it's a patch with like a lot of like cosmetic, aesthetic stuff at the moment. Hasn't been like too much of a substantial patch because like new banners will always come around. Reruns will always happen in gacha games. I guess there's only so much the company can do until they prepare us for like the next major region expansion. So I guess that's that. Otherwise, I really, outside of like doing my regular weekly, hourly stuff, I personally don't feel like I 100% enjoy it when I have to force myself to. Because I feel like at the end of the day, this is a game where you want to enjoy it at your own pace. Unless you play with a whole community and a whole community can like play with you. As with a bunch of streamers for this game, understandably. As right now, I'm just doing my own thing and enjoying the game as best as I could. Even though there are aspects of it I really wish it could be a bit better, but we take what we get and we try our best with what we got. I think I'm done with my weekly daily activities for now. I just don't feel like doing any more Oonga Boonga stuff right now. The only thing I could do is probably like maybe at least 1 to 2 more boss fights, but it's... Speaking of boss fight... Yeah, the team no longer exists. Getting groups for bosses are at like selective hours or something. And even then, like... You sometimes will actually spend all that amount of effort and time to defeat a boss and you just don't get anything valuable. Not even an increased rate in value and when you're a higher level. That doesn't even happen. Same thing with joint operations. You run a full dungeon here, right? You select the high... And I did this recently. I did it, like... I did like 2 runs. 1 to 2 runs. Where you select the highest difficulty, right? You use up a ticket to increase your drop rate because we have that system where you can spend a ticket to increase your drop rate. You spend your ticket on the last box in the dungeon. And you don't get jack squat. So, like, what's the point of the increased difficulty if we don't have at least 1 guaranteed best drop? Because I can understand that, like, these signature equipments can have an RNG factor on it. Because they're so valuable and they're, like, the best equipment in the entire game. But, like, why not, like, the gear itself? Because here's the thing. These pieces of gear should be guaranteed at the highest level dungeon. And understand that, like, whatever piece of gear you get, your substats are all RNG gated. So, like, this is enough RNG for us to, like, sort out and clean up our inventory from. Just make this guaranteed, so we can at least get more fodder or potentially get a really good piece. That's the least they could do. Otherwise, like, we have, like, the harder dungeons here that I can't be able to do yet because my gear score is not high enough because the game doesn't want to give me good gear and enough mats for the gear score. I said my pieces. I think I've said my pieces. While this patch I think has some fluff, and it's actually, I would say it's like pretty good fluff, I just don't think it's enough to actually really warrant so many long hours into the game without a bunch of friends to play with, I suppose. And even when you finish the stuff that you play with your friends, you're just end up gravitating back to doing side questing and exploration, which is not always a bad thing and helps to get you some free reward. It's just what if you're done with that? What if you're tired? What if you're tired of that? Especially since like the most recent map has like very difficult like opponents who just aren't the most squishy anymore. You go to the confounding abyss and you run into monsters that can actually go toe to toe with you. So you just can't oonga boonga your way out of the monsters in these in these most recent maps, because they actually have like decent defense and a chunky amount of it, like I'd say a decent amount of attack. And the bosses on these maps, honestly, don't get me started with them. Don't really get me started with these bosses for like the one piece of equipment that we need. Not just potentially getting, but getting fragments for, which makes it a little bit more grindier. And not only that, the substats on this are random too. Call this tower of more RNG with fluff on top of. I mean, that's just how the good game is going to be. That RPGs will have here's the thing that like the industry will always be going by. Is that when you have an RPG game, you can't have RPG without RNG. That's just the way it is. That's how game design is going to work, period. I'm done. I said my piece. I'm so done ranting. Okay. Oh, actually one of, like another good streamer friend is online. Probably send a different raid over to her
Time for a
then.
little snack.
Look at my Steam. Holy Kiba, you didn't have to do that. Really? For me? As my Christmas gift?
I know you're listening.
Damn, thank you, Kiba. Merry Christmas to you too. I didn't really expect like presents much this year, but that is a really amazing present. Actually, quick question though. Do I need to necessarily play Dragon Quest games in order, or can I just play it in whatever order, like Final Fantasy in whatever order? If they don't relate to each other. Because I am going to play my 3DS one first before this, but that's amazing, man. Thank you so much.
I know you're listening.
Okay, so I don't have to play like all those games in specific order. Or like in any order. Perfect, okay. Thank you so much once again, Kiva. Oh my goodness, that is so flippin' appreciated. That is a full-on game with Definitive Edition too. Perfect. Just like Final Fantasy. And Fire Emblem, I guess. Yeah, perfect. Unless it's like a correlating thing with each other, like Three Houses and its spin-off. Alright. I said my points. I've put in my hours. I'm just gonna go ahead and raid, I'll just go ahead and raid
Time for a
Tifa.
little snack.
Thank you once again to Kipa for helping me archive stuff. I'll be back at a more reasonable time and more regular hours, I guess. And hopefully it will be a while before we put in irregular hours for this game again. Yeah, I'm gonna call this like streaming program, Tower of Irregular Pepeka Streaming Hours. I'm just gonna log off and do my other dailies for now, and I guess maybe we'll be back for some. Let's be back for some Overwatch 2 and Honkai Impact later. How about that? And then we'll go on.
I know you're listening.
This week will be for a whole variety of a slew of other different games before the new year. So I'll be sure to post on Twitter and Discord what we got coming up, but I don't think we'll make it to the countdown. I'll see if we can make it to the countdown, but I can't guarantee it. But yeah, I'll see you around, Kiba, and thank you so much, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you. If I don't see you around, then I hope you have a happy 2023 for the New Year's. Everybody else, too.